Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Level Up Your Mental. My name is Ariel, and I'm a licensed mental health counselor. Today, I wanted to talk about why receiving the truth hurts and how important it is to talk about the truth. In my previous video, I spoke about communication and why that's important. And today, I want to talk about why talking about the truth is important and how it can heal you and heal your mental health, right? So I have a quote here that says, "Truth hurts, but silence kills." And how important is this? Sometimes getting the truth from someone can hurt really bad, but being silent about something and never wanting to hear it hurts even worse. And it might not be something that hurts physically, it could be emotionally, but I think it's important that we talk about why we need to start accepting the truth and how important it is for your mental health. You know, like I said before, sometimes the truth hurts, right? But avoiding it hurts way more. A lot of times we will avoid because we don't want to know, but at the end of the day, it's going to catch up to you. And sometimes it's best to deal with that hurt and deal with the truth that comes with it than to continue to avoid and think that avoiding something is going to create a solution to the problem. A lot of times what I will see, especially with parents, I'll do one with parents as far as like teenagers. There are a lot of parents who, and I don't want to fault anyone, but this is just from being in the field and working with young adults. There are a lot of parents who will think that their kid is, the greatest thing on earth and can do no wrong and has never done anything defiant in front of them. But the minute that they go to school and the schools are reporting to them that their kid, tends to act up in school and they're doing this with this kid and doing this with that kid, they're like, oh no, that is not my kid. No way, that can't be them. It has to be your school and the kids around them and this and that. But a lot of times what tends to happen is they avoid, they don't address it, they take their kid's side, and then a lot of times the kid continues to get in trouble to the point that they possibly get arrested or they get expelled from school and things like that. And yes, it sucks to hear that your child is the one that's creating problems or they are the ones that are getting in trouble. But at the end of the day, you want to hear the truth so that you can address these things with them and prevent future stuff from happening. What I've seen from a lot of kids is that it hurts them more when their parents are disappointed in them than when their parents are yelling at them and all of that. You need to tell your children or just people in general when they're doing something wrong. Yes, it hurts that you have done everything as a parent to steer your kid in the right direction and making sure that they're getting all the things that they get, and then they act in this way. But at the end of the day, you want to address these things head on than to keep prolonging it and act like it's not happening. Now, that is just an example, but I think it is something that just, shows you exactly, how to address things. It's the same thing like in relationships, right? A lot of times people will get in relationships with other people and they will get information from either friends or family members of that person saying, hey, this person is a known cheater, right? They tend to love the person that they're with, but somehow they end up cheating. It's a constant thing that I've seen before. I've had other friends who have been through it. I've seen my brother, sister, whoever it is, have done that to people in the past. And a lot of times people will be like, no, not gonna happen to me. I'm completely different, whatever. That is fine. I have some people who, they have believed that, and you in every right are allowed to. But I think at the end of the day, you do need to at least take mental note that this is something that this person has done. And, it could happen to you. I don't know. You could be the change. But at the same time, let's not be naive and act like it's not a possibility of this thing happening, right? So in order to be truthful with someone, you have to be honest. I think sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because it's going to hurt. And a lot of times they like to be comfortable in avoiding or acting like this thing isn't happening because that works better for them. But at the end of the day, what I've seen is that it hurts even more if you move forward and act like something isn't happening or that's not the truth. because a lot of times it'll come out in other ways that you didn't expect, and now you kind of have to deal with it and deal with the hurt that comes with that. So yes, the truth does hurt, and having to have that hard conversation or hearing something about someone hurts, but at the end of the day, being silent, acting like it's not happening, avoiding it doesn't hurt. Doesn't work either. It's just gonna hurt you just as much or even worse, right? Let's talk about how painful truths can actually help your mental health, right? So one example that I want to do is, you're the problem in a relationship. A lot of times, and this is any relationship, this could be family, this could be personal, romantic relationships, friends. A lot of times people will bring up things and say, oh, I can't keep a relationship, I can't keep friends, I can't keep this, I don't understand why, I'm not sure why, I don't get it, right? And a lot of times it hurts to look within and figure out, am I the problem? Like, am I the reason why this thing just keeps falling apart? And I think for some people, they would rather just avoid that and just act like it didn't happen, or they would rather just avoid it and act as if, that's not the truth, because nobody wants to be, if we're being honest, nobody wants to be the problem. If that's the real honest answer, as far as like what I've heard, or just in general, nobody wants to be the problem. But at the end of the day, if there's a constant thing that's happening and you are the common denominator, then you're gonna have to look within yourself. How am I contributing to that? How am I the problem? What do I need to do to change that? And yes, it hurts to hear that truth, but acting as if it's not an issue and just keep moving on to relationship and avoiding that, it's gonna hurt even worse when you get that one person that is able to tell you what's up, and now you're having to deal with that instead of doing the self work and being able to take the reins and be like, okay, maybe I am the problem, or maybe I'm not, and I need to go figure that out too. But I think being able to at least acknowledge that is better than avoiding and acting like it's not happening. Another one is not putting in the effort you think you are. This is a big one in relationships. A lot of times people think that they're putting in a lot of effort into their relationships, but their partners are struggling. And a lot of times they'll be like, oh no, it's because you need to do this, you need to do that. But have you looked within yourself to see, what effort are you putting in? Is that person comfortable coming to you to talk to you about things? Are you able to step up without that person telling you what to do? I think that's, being able to understand that, yeah, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable to hear the truth that you're not putting in as much effort or pulling in the weight that you should. And sometimes people take that as a hit. And, you're a human being. You're allowed to feel the way that you're feeling, but I don't want people to avoid things and be silent and act as if, if I just keep moving forward, then, I'll do fine. That never usually works out for anybody. If anything, you just continue to hurt everybody else in your path because you weren't able to acknowledge that you are not putting in the effort or you're part of the problem. So I think at the end of the day, we need to check ourselves. We really do need to check ourselves, or allow the people that love us and care us, if they're able to see from the outside, allow them to check you and be able to be like, hey, you're not doing too great. Or, hey, I'm hearing this about your significant other, and, I need you to take the reins and talk to them and check yourself. So I think, it's hard. Yes, nobody wants to hear the truth about themselves or about the situations that they're in, but you have to hear the truth in order to have a successful future in whatever it is that you're doing, whether that's personal relationships, whether that's relationships at work. Sometimes our supervisor is not the greatest and it's hard for them to be able to take that, but to be a great leader, you have to be able to acknowledge where you've done something wrong and, be able to move forward and make the changes so that people can see that, oh, she took the criticism or whatever it is and she's making a difference. It's the same thing like when parents have to hear the truth from their kids that, hey, whatever you did back then is now affecting me as an adult. And some parents can't take that. And I get it, because it sucks, because parenting alone is a hard job. But to hear from your kid when they grow up that, hey, you effed up in this way and that way, that's even harder. But at the end of the day, the truth hurts. But acting as if it's not, you're not the issue or whatever, that's gonna hurt even worse, because your kids grow up to be adults and they're gonna have their own kids. And if they don't want that type of stuff around them and you can't acknowledge, they have the right to be able to separate themselves and not have a relationship with you because you weren't able to acknowledge where you messed up and be able to fix that situation or that relationship. The other one that I would say as another example is that you need help but you've been avoiding it, and that's a big one. Like I've said before in past videos, a lot of times people will get a diagnosis of something, whether it's mental health, whether it's medical, and they will use that to their advantage for their negative behaviors and for the way that they talk and the way that they respond to people and the way that they do things, when that's not how it's supposed to be. If you have ADHD, if you have depression, if you have a personality disorder and you're fully aware of it, then you should be getting some type of help for it if it's affecting areas in your life. And especially if you know that you need the help but you're afraid, that's one thing that I want people to understand, that it's okay to be afraid. I mean, I think that if you weren't afraid, that would be an issue. But if you're afraid of something, that is okay. You're a human being. You're going to be afraid of things. It's part of life. But to sit there and avoid and act like you are not the problem, that you don't need help, that you're doing just fine, when there are clear examples of that not being the case, you've got to somehow take a point and be like, damn, the truth hurts. The truth hurts. Yeah, I need help. I've been avoiding it for this long, but I need help. Like I've told other people, there's never a perfect time to get help. There's also going to be multiple times in your life where you're going to need help. You could be grieving right now, and the way that you're lashing out at people is from your grief. So you go get help, you get the therapy, you do fine, you're communicating. Then years down the line, something else happens and it affects you, and now you're affecting everybody. You can go back and get therapy again and get help. The whole point is to understand when you need the help and to stop avoiding it, so you're not hurting other people in your relationships or just in your path in general. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's a part of growth. Once you're able to acknowledge things and get comfortable with being uncomfortable, you will excel when it comes to your life and it comes to your relationships and the way that you do things. This is just an interchangeable as far as when it comes to dynamics. The truth hurts in every aspect, whether that's your job, whether that's your personal life, whether that's you being in your friendships, whether that's, just things that you're doing. The truth is always going to hurt just in general, but you need to be able to take that information and do what you need to do with it in order to grow and be a better person. And then the other part, as far as the truth versus denial, is that the mental load of ignoring reality versus facing it is a lot. And you may think that you're doing fine, continuing to avoid, but a lot of times what I see with people is that they're using other ways to cope. A lot of times people will drink, a lot of times they will go shopping, or they'll be on the internet worrying about other people's problems, like celebrities and things like that, because why would I want to face my reality and all the things that I have to deal with when I can just harp on somebody else's reality and make comments and, do all of that to avoid. Not only that, the mental load of ignoring your reality is very stressful. It brings a lot of denial, brings a lot of anxiety, it brings a lot of guilt, and it brings a lot of confusion. When you are in denial, it affects you mentally a lot. The anxiety that brings up every single time you're in that situation, or if you have to face someone that has to deal with whatever it is that you're going with, is a lot. And why would you want to walk around with that? Not only that, guilt. If you know that you did something wrong and you're just avoiding it and trying to move past it, that creates just an awkward moment between you and that person. And then also the same thing as far as when it comes to communication. If you're denying that you guys didn't communicate effectively, or that you guys did communicate effectively but that's not the truth and you're just trying to avoid it, that's just going to bring continued confusion to the next person, and that doesn't help. So we need to put the denial away and start to accept the truth. Yes, it sucks. Yes, we don't want to look like the bad person, but people will respect you more if you're able to take accountability and be able to accept the truth. And I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. Like I said, it's going to be uncomfortable, but you will grow as a person if you're able to get comfortable in those uncomfortable moments. So that comes through with acceptance, right? Though it's hard, it brings clarity and it brings healing. Truth is like medicine. It tastes bad, but it heals you at the end of the day. And it sucks to be able to hear the truth about yourself and where you may have messed up, but at least people are able to say, yeah, she messed up, but I was able to tell her what was going wrong, and ever since then we've been fine. She was able to do better. But if you're somebody where I can't come to you and tell you, hey, you messed up here and there, and you're already ready to fight me, or you're pushing back and you're not able to at least take in what I'm saying, I'm not going to want to have future conversations with you, because it's not conducive. You're not able to take what I'm saying, even if it's not something that you're accepting of now, even if you need a little bit to process it. It's the fact that you are not avoiding it or denying it. Why the truth helps your mental health? It leads to self-awareness. People that are more self-aware have better relationships, because people know that that person is able to check themselves and get it together, even if it takes them like a day or two. At least they're able to acknowledge it, right? It empowers change. Life is forever changing, and you have to change with it, or else you're going to be stuck, and everybody else around you is going to keep moving forward, and that's going to be hard for you, right? It strengthens boundaries. When you are able to accept your reality, accept the truth, you're able to set healthy boundaries for yourself, and it really impacts your mental health in a positive way, because people know how to communicate with you, and you know how to communicate with others and take accountability for things, and it's not going to affect you in a negative way. And then the other thing is that it opens the door for real support and not false comfort. A lot of times what I see with people is that when somebody doesn't acknowledge something and people are afraid to come to you to talk about things, the people around you are avoiding things. They don't want to talk to you about stuff because they know that you're going to come at them or you're going to be negative about it. And a lot of times that is just a surface level of support. And why would you want that? You want the people that love and care around you to be able to talk to you about things. And I don't want to say come at you, but I want people to understand that people can come to you and talk about things even when you mess up. That person feels comfortable letting you know, hey, you messed up, we can talk about it or whatever. It's not one of those things where somebody comes and tells you something and now you're ready to fight them because of what they said. I don't think that that's fair, and I think that that just shows your lack of emotional intelligence and also emotion regulation skills, because as you grow up to be an adult, you should be able to acknowledge your feelings and able to control them in situations. And maybe, there might be situations where things might trigger you, yes, but at the end of the day, you know how to reserve yourself when somebody's able to come to you about the truth, instead of being silent the whole entire time, and now you guys have a surface level relationship because they can't talk to you about anything. So at the end of the day, you don't have to love the truth, but you should learn to listen to it. Same thing like we process as far as DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. It's about accepting your truth, accepting your reality. It doesn't mean that you agree, but you are accepting it instead of fighting it, because as you continue to fight it, it's only going to affect you in a negative way. So we have to learn to accept the things that are in front of us, reflect on it. How can we do better? What do we need to change? If you need to go to therapy to acknowledge certain things. Again, a therapist is not there to tell you what to do. We're just here to guide you. And also just talking to someone. If you don't feel comfortable going to therapy and you go to church, talk to your pastor. Being able to confide in someone who doesn't have a bias towards you at the end of the day and is able to call you out and tell you what's up, and you are able to change your behavior based off of what they're telling you, right? Again, the truth hurts, but silence kills. You need to be able to accept the truth, deal with it, and learn how to move forward. It's the only way that you're going to, grow and become a better person and get better with being uncomfortable, because there's going to be more moments in your life where that's going to happen, and you have to learn how to deal with that and how to manage that. So I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Please comment below if you have any questions or if you would like to engage in the topic. Let me know if there's any other topics that you guys would like me to talk about, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.